My story today is about overcoming addiction. My parents were addicts, and I was a product of that. My parents ended up in prison. They were selling drugs, and my twin brother and I ended up in foster care. And because of what we went through, I ended up becoming an addict. Well, my big aha moment was I was selling drugs. I got in trouble. I had two little girls. And when my mom had gotten in trouble, and she went to jail, I remember visiting her in jail and sitting there crying. And then it was my turn the day I went to jail and realized my sister brought my baby girls to come see me in jail. They were sitting in the same seat that I was sitting in when I was visiting my mom. And I just wanted to share that with you because that was truly my big aha moment when I turned things around. I wanted more for my daughters, and I did.
Well, hello, this is Don, and today I'm running solo here. Gina's has had to do some caregiving for her father. She may be joining us at some point, but right now she's not with us. But I'm Don with Focus Healthy Family, and this is podcast number 50. And today we're talking with Roxanne Wilson. She's a mother extraordinaire, by the way, and we're going to be talking about foster care and adoption and all the things around that. But before we get to that, let's take a moment here for our sponsor.
And become a Q Sciences rep because I really believe in the quality of these products. One of our children went to a neurologist and had some testing done, and they talked about nutrients being absorbed. We can give our bodies vitamins and minerals, but if we can't properly absorb them, then they're not doing what they need to do. We might as well be throwing our money down the drain.
Or like somebody told me, flushing it down the drain too, because it's going straight through you.
And so one huge example of this, vitamin D. Normal levels are, I think, at least 20, but when you talk to real nutritional practitioners, they say it really needs to be higher than that. It's very linked to depression and mental health, but most doctors, if it gets in the 20s, they say that's good. Healthy levels go up to, I don't think 100 or more. You can look up those statistics. I don't have that in front of me. So we've been taking a thing I get online that's a vitamin D, K2, that's supposed to help absorb each other. It's a clean, relatively clean product without additives and other things that I get online. My child's vitamin D levels were at 27 and not going anywhere, despite being on 1,000 milligrams and upping it to 2,000. And then we switched her to the Q Sciences has a spray. The spray, it gets absorbed into your system faster. It's methylated, so it's for easier absorption. And so we switched to her using the spray once a day for a month. She went back for more labs. Her levels had jumped to 47 in just a month's time. And that told me we're throwing our money down the drain with the other supplement. I'm not buying that anymore for any of us. Realizing the power of quality supplements. And it's tough because you can order things online, but there's no guarantee you're getting what you're actually getting, even if it's from a reputable company. Not to bad talk anyone, but we get things through Amazon. We have subscribe and save, and
easy.
We get discounts because of it, and it's more cost effective, and yet do we really know what we're getting? So I got into it because of the quality of the products. I really am impressed with the company. They're really good quality products, and I've been really impressed with them. And so I share that story just because the impact that has, and just seeing those lab results to me is really powerful.
So they have sprays, the different sprays, sleep spray, which is excellent too. We use that. Their complex of vitamins is they're micro too, if I'm not mistaken.
Micronutrients. Yeah. The sleep spray has 5-HTP, melatonin, L-theanine, all known to help with calming and sleep. And there's a B12 spray. There's a vitamin C spray.
They also have CBD.
Yes, they have a large selection of high quality. Well, it's full spectrum hemp oil, not just CBD. It's the full spectrum hemp, which is the whole plant, getting all the nutrients that can be helpful for all levels of healing. We have a topical cream I've used, and I want more of it, rubbed on achy joints and muscles. I've used they even have a THC free hemp oil for anyone who's concerned about drug testing, that it's completely free of the THC component. I have been super impressed with the ingredients that are in these different products. So if you want to learn more,
go to focusedhealthyfamily.com/Q Sciences. That's just the letter Q, Sciences, and you can find out all about this. Try it out.
yeah.
And we're back. And today, again, we're talking with Roxanne Wilson. And it's hard to put into a small paragraph what we have here with Roxanne, because she is a person that has been through the foster system herself, but also now is a mother of four adopted foster kids and 4 of her own biological kids. So she's gone from a life of being a realtor, very involved with CASA, with different organizations, going out speaking, all of that, and now has moved from LA to Arkansas, where she's now really concentrating on 1, writing a book, and 2, taking care of 8 kids. So welcome, Roxanne. I'm being corrected. 4 kids. I thought you had.
Well, there's 4 left, 4 remaining.
Oh, well, yeah, but okay. Well, you're always a mother. I mean, you're always a mother of 8, whether you.
That is true. Yeah, and 5
never give
beautiful
up
grandkids.
I'm still got
Yeah.
my daughter in Raleigh that I'm still having to take care of, so no, but no, what you've told us just in that story and what you're doing now is amazing stuff, and it really fits well. We're in this series right now talking about foster care and adoption, and so it's nice to have somebody that was in on the system itself, but also now handling 4 kids that are coming out of that system too. So again, welcome, Roxanne.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, let's expand a little bit on this story. Now, what you told was kind of from the past of what you've been through, and we can add into that, but we also would like to know, like, what's life like now?
Well, life has slowed down for me considerably since we've moved to Arkansas. I'm just using this time to focus on the 4 remaining girls that are left. I have the oldest one just turned 16, and she has behavioral issues. She's been diagnosed with RAD, reactive attachment disorder, ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, PTSD, major depressive disorder, and I could probably keep going on. But yeah, it's been very difficult, and it takes a lot of time. And these things really started, there's always been issues with that one. But I think as she got older, hormones and whatnot, things have really changed, maybe even the move. But yeah, things have been really tough. So she's currently in a behavioral health center. And I didn't realize just how bad it was, the trauma that they endured prior to the adoption was way worse than I ever could have imagined, because she had the ability to build the walls, and she was able to not talk about it. It was stuffed, way down deep, until she couldn't take it anymore. The pain started coming up, and the anger and the rage and all of that, and that's where we're at today. We're dealing with that.
Well, I was kind of curious that now in thinking about it, when you talked about that you yourself became an addict, and you I guess tell a little bit about the story of how you got out of this, into the system. What happened for you with that?
When we were in foster care.
Well, kind of like how did it lead up to foster care, and and then getting into it?
For me or for the kiddos?
No, for you, first off. Yeah.
My parents were drug addicts and were selling drugs and went to prison. My twin brother and I went into the system. We were 4 and 5, and we got a visitation from my grandma, who noticed that we were being abused. We were being seriously abused. And so they petitioned to get us out, and we went with family members, aunt and uncle. We had impetigo. We had a lot of diseases, and we're filthy, and lice and all of that. When we were, yeah, it took a while to recover.
The addiction, did that happen while you were still in the system, or had you come out where you when you turned 18, you're out of the system?
No, we got out of the system at a young age, but my dad was still in prison most of my life, in and out, in and out. It was just my mom, and she did the best she could, but the addiction just won, and that was our life. It was our lifestyle. Drugs were always, present, and my mom was always high, and not really having a parent to parent us. I literally ran the streets at a very young age. I was also kidnapped and raped when I was 9. And so you can imagine what that did to me. So the drugs were always, and alcohol, whatever I can get my hands on to mask that pain is what I did just to survive.
And then you talked about the turning point, when you were in jail and your daughters came to visit. I know you went in, did you have a CASA person for yourself too?
No, but I'll tell you that in my aha moment, I did everything that I could to turn my life around. I went through parenting classes, whatever anybody told me I needed to do. I went to church, whatever anybody told me. I did it. I wanted to live. I didn't want my kids to ever have to go through what I went through. And I did whatever I needed to do to make that change. And I've done a great job. I've worked really, really hard to heal.
Mm-hmm.
I had my own trauma, and I've had to heal. And like I said, my biggest goal is to make sure that my girls didn't ever have to go through that. Their lives started out bumpy. They were little. Things weren't, I was still in my addiction, but that turned around when they were very young. So I'm very blessed that they're okay.
Yeah.
And then I met my husband 25 years ago, and then we had our 2 boys. And I've lived a really good life. I've been very blessed to live a good life, but I've really endeavored to give back. And that's why I've immersed myself in many organizations, just wanting to give back. But I love CASA. As you've met Diane, I've listened to her podcast. She's amazing. And they just, give back to the foster children who don't have anybody. Yeah.
So, and I'll get off of you, and we'll get on to this present life. But I was just curious, was there a point in time when you knew that you were going to make it, that you knew you were going, because you had the aha moment that started to turn you around, but was there a moment when you said, I know I am doing it, and I don't know if you ever get past that, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Is that, was there a point when you just said, I think I'm finally on the right place or right path?
No, that's a great question. I think honestly, going to jail saved my life, because I was able to get clean long enough to have an awakening. The fog began to clear, and my emotions, I began to feel, and then to even look at my daughters and see them and feel that pain, and then remember, oh my goodness, feeling that same pain. I was like, I knew I was going to make it. I knew that at all costs that I had to do whatever it takes. I was at my rock bottom, and I never wanted to be there again.
Good for you. And
thank you.
I can hear the passion in you, and I think that's wonderful. And I think that's why we wanted you on here, because you're very passionate about this. And I think the book and all that you're doing is going to be really good stuff.
Thank you.
One thing I thought about is, when I was thinking about this, is you now have been a parent of biological kids, let me put it that way, and but you also have been parents to adopted kids. They were foster first, I take it? You fostered them
Yes, they
first?
were from the
Okay.
county. Yeah, out of foster care, out of the system.
What how would you what was the difference between parenting for biological and parenting for adoption? And that might be a broad question, I'm not sure, but can you talk about the how different it was or what you had to
Yes,
do differently?
yes, yes. Learning that what worked for my bios didn't necessarily work for these ones. We, with my first four, we're very structured. I'm like, you're not going to disrespect me. I'm like, oh no, you're not going to talk to me like that. Like, no. And, that sort of thing, which is very structured. And, when you have kids that come in from chaos and
Yeah.
drugs and, it was very traumatic. I had to learn to be, and just meet each one right where they were at. The twins, they were 2.5. They had no verbal. They were they were neglected and they didn't talk. Well, my 2.5-year-olds were saying sentences and, we were reading books and that didn't happen. And so things were very different. They were special needs, but I knew they would be okay because we learned how to sign language with them. We did sign language and they caught it. I'm like, these girls are smart. And they are amazing and they've completely caught up, just so you know.
Oh,
They
good.
are doing amazing in mainstream school, A's and B's, amazing kids. They've come a long way. But we did notice the oldest one, who really bore the brunt of the trauma,
Mhm.
major behavioral issues. There was a lot of rage and fits that, outside of it, go, sit in the corner for a timeout type thing that might work, or count to 10, take a deep breath. Those things didn't work for her. There was rage. And I mean, eyes would go black, like fits, shaking. She would have night terrors, but she would be one that would just scream out in the middle of the night. And it was just terrifying. Like, it was terrifying. I felt so bad for this little child. She would rock all the time, rock back and forth, just sitting there rocking, and we would just watch her. It was just a soothing mechanism. But there's no books for that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know, you couldn't calm her down when we call them episodes. Like a normal kid, you could maybe grab and hug and be like, oh, it's okay, baby. Look, it's okay. You couldn't do that with her because she would disconnect. And you just had to like almost wait for the episode to end. Well, so you can imagine, 8 years old, 5 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old. Now we're 15 and 16. It's gotten pretty bad. So
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
yes.
it's
Yeah.
changed a lot. Yeah.
Were the kids one family, all in the same family?
Yes. And the parents were drug addicts
Mm.
and there was a lot of chaos in their family, a lot of abuse, anger, sex, drugs. There was a lot, but the dad was very scary. And like they were fighting a lot.
Yeah. It's, when as you described that, it just, because I remember we have 3 kids, and, each one of them, you almost have to parent differently, you know, um,
Exactly.
they
Yeah.
don't, so it's just kind of hard for me to imagine in a way how tough it would have been, because you got on top of that, you've got all this other traumas and PTSD and all this other stuff. I mean, we have 2 kids with OCD that went through pretty dramatic, extreme OCD and raged and things like that. So I kind of understand it, but I don't want to claim I know what you're going through at all. But yeah, so well, I take it, that being in foster care yourself, it probably helped to shape how you parent them though too. I would imagine that helped you,
Very much.
being the
Very
parent.
much so. Yeah, very much so. Very much
Uh,
so. Giving me a compassion and it's not something you can learn in the books, not discounting education, but I'm
Well, yeah,
saying
no,
there
well,
really
yeah.
is a compassion, and then, just being able to, sometimes it was difficult, but being able to look into the kid's eyes and almost seeing yourself,
Hmm.
I had to work through, it's almost triggering, like your own traumas, but, I worked through that and healed, but it gave me a love and a compassion that, yeah, that I don't think I would have had otherwise.
Well, and that you need it too, because
Oh, yeah.
when you're in those kind of places, it's I would it's not it's probably pretty easy to take a lot of that personally, and it's not really something I would imagine that is really about you, but they're still coming after you and transferring it over to you. So
Right.
that's
It's
um
true. That's very
yeah,
true.
takes a lot of patience. So um and you were part of the CASA, you were a CASA.
I
uh
was, yeah, an advocate, yes.
how long did you do that?
I was going on 2 years, so it was during COVID, and but then we moved, so, I enjoyed being a CASA. I had a gal that was, she was 17, so she was a little bit older, and yeah, it was a great fit. I helped her. CASA is a great organization. I helped her with her college application. She was still trying to get her driver's license. We would do the tests and study and things like that.
And are you still in contact with your
I've talked to her one time since I've moved, but not since then.
uh well, and you might how is your husband playing into this? How is he handling it, and how involved does he get with this?
Well, he's handling it like a trooper. He's a champ, and he's involved in family therapies. We have therapy. I've got my other three in therapy as well. I've got the oldest one. She's in therapy. She's in behavioral health right now. But the other three needed therapy because this really affected them. I'm not tooting my own horn, but for the most part, our lives have been pretty even keeled. Like, we're pretty stable. We didn't have a lot, aside of the move, which we were excited about. They haven't had any trauma, and this really has turned our lives upside down. I can't
Hmm.
stress that enough. It has really been very difficult, because there's been episodes of self-harm
Hmm.
and refusing food and water for 3 days. I had to call an ambulance, and depression, and it's been a lot for the other three. So we're all really trying to navigate this now.
Well, yeah, and then um that kind of brings up the idea, about how it has affected the others, because I understand the tough part about it is for us. I know, when we had to deal with the one that was dealing with OCD initially, all our attention, all our focus was there,
Mm.
and the other two, you know, we're really feeling neglected. We're feeling abandoned. How is it for your biological? You have now, is it three biological kids or four?
No, four,
Four. Okay.
four. Yeah, but no, you hit it right there. I have had to apologize to the siblings, the other three, because the oldest has taken away from them, and she almost sucks the oxygen out of the air in the home, and everything I have has been given to her, and so this really has been a nice reprieve with her being gone, but we can't look at it like that. I'm just being honest. We've come up for air, and the other three are laughing, and I hear giggles, and they're coming alive again, and I don't want that to end. And so that's why I feel like it's very important right now. Everybody's in therapy. Line up, we're all going, because
Yeah, yeah.
ultimately want her home. We want her well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's going to be a new normal. It really is. We've got to learn how to navigate this together, but they've got resentments and anger and things that they're dealing with.
Well, I would imagine you probably have a bit of a conflict in your head because on one side, it's so nice to be free and have, like you say, air back in the house, but then you don't. We've had to deal with the behavioral. Our youngest had a trip to the behavioral center luckily just for 2 days, but it was not fun and it was not a good. The atmosphere was not the best for them. So you got that on this side. So there's this conflicting.
Yes.
I used to, when I remember when going through, especially with my first daughter with the OCD, I used to talk about I felt like my head was split in the middle and one half was still at home, worried about what was going on there while one was trying to go to work, and try to be
Yeah.
at work. So I can only imagine that kind of with
It's
what you've
hard.
got going on.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think, and I try not to beat myself up because as parents, and I want parents to know out there, there's not a handbook. And you, like me, I know your parents, you're doing the best you can.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. You're doing the best you can. I'm trying to give myself grace and tell myself I'm doing the best I can. But the fact of the matter is I had her in counseling in California when she was 13 because it started really getting bad. And the therapist told me she needed a psychiatrist and that she should, there was these diagnoses and that she needed further care. And I dismissed it. And I dismissed it for all the wrong reasons. I dismissed it because I didn't want the stigma. I didn't want people to think, I wasn't a good enough mom because I started, we'll be fine. I can do this. We can do this. And then two, the stigma of mental health or putting your child on medication. You don't do that. You don't do that. And I regret not pursuing that. I had made some calls and the doors were shut. There were long waits in California. And I was like, she's behaving right now. And I truly thought, I can do this. We can do this. And I was wrong. And so that's my biggest regret. There are many resources out there. You do have to fight for them sometimes.
Oh my
and
gosh.
there are waiting lists. I got discouraged. But the fact of the matter was I should have really took care of it then. But like I said, I give myself grace because I'm doing the best I can. But
well,
no.
I always tell my client, I do some kind of counseling. It's a alternative counseling method, but I always tell my clients to stop shooting all over themselves, because
right, it's true.
And what the other thing I'll say this for you, but also for the audience, I always look at, parents coming to me a lot of times and they're so worried about how they screwed up their kids and oh my gosh, the things I've done and what are they gonna, how I'm affecting them and all this. And what I really try to say, what you're doing, one, if a parent is worried and questioning and wondering what they can do and all of that, to me, that gives them an A+ as a parent because they care enough that they're asking for help. They're looking for how they can do better. They're always searching and all of that. It's the parents that don't care and don't want to search and try and those to me are the ones that get the F,
Right.
So, and also to understand that the things that you're doing right now, what you might consider messing up or mistakes, are really lessons for your kids on how not to do it or how to do it better. Especially like yourself, you are doing so many things to make amends, to change it, to take care of them, that they're learning now what compassion it is, and they're learning what down the road they may run into the same situation, and they now have this and that mom did it, I can do it.
Yes,
So
thank you.
just to give yourself some kudos to know that yeah, it's not fun to think of all the mistakes I've made and the stupid things I've done, but they're really out there to show them, hey, this is how you can get past this. This is not
Right.
it's not the end of the world. You can't, anyway. So
No, that's good. Thank you for
I
that.
give you
Yeah.
an A+.
Yay. Thank you. I'll
You can
take
turn
it.
that report card in,
Yes, I'll take
Uh,
it.
So I guess what would you like to say to somebody that is just getting started in maybe fostering a child or even the adopting part of, or both, what thoughts would you have for them?
Throw out everything you think you know.
Run like heck.
Yeah, there's not a book, but there are many resources. I would get educated, find out, read as much as you can about trauma or what I don't know, whatever their background is,
Yeah,
but they are ultimately coming in, whatever their background is, they're coming into a new home. Chances are they've been in several, they don't trust adults, they don't trust the system, and they're broken,
Yeah.
and they're coming to you broken. You didn't break them, but and so have eyes to see beyond the surface if you can, looking in deeper into their hearts, because there's a lot of reaction from those kids and it's not you. There's a lot of pushback, a lot of rejection you're going to get from these kids. They're pushing because they've never had anything consistent or solid or a grown up in their lives that's ever stuck around, that's why they're there. So yeah, that part's hard, is getting past the pushback and the rejection of the adult. I went through that, and so yeah, that as well as just really finding those resources, finding if there's a support group, go to the classes, whatever you can find, but just to get a better understanding of where that child is coming from and or what they've been through will help a lot.
Okay. Well, I know you're writing a book.
I am.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because I found the title is Mirror, like the one you
Yes.
reflect in or look in. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, as you've heard a lot about my past, right? The things that I've been through. When I made that change, in my life, I remembered it was really difficult for me, even once I got clean, to look inside of a mirror, because I still saw that broken, rejected, unwanted, unloved little girl. And so that is really the premise of my book, and talking about overcoming that and how I got to the other side of that, because there's no button you can push for trauma. It doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
But what do you do? What do you do as an adult? What do you do with that? I was a young adult, but yeah, so that's really, what I'm writing about is, the traumas that I went through, but really that's not, that's just a byproduct. It's really overcoming. And like I said, there's no button to push. It's still there. And so what do you do with that? So I'm going to share those things, and how I've overcome. And now I'm able to look in the mirror and see something, wonderful, and somebody with purpose, and somebody, with value. But it took a minute. That's the truth. It took a minute.
A long minute.
It did, but it's worth it. Yeah, on the other end. And I want to give people hope that you can change and
Come out of
look
it.
in the
Yeah.
mirror. Yeah.
Well, and there are buttons to push, but they're your buttons they're pushing.
I guess it's not the truth.
It's not a turn. There's no turn off button, but there is the ones that push. Yeah.
Oh,
And you have to
we
make,
don't want to push those buttons.
well, and you also, like we talked about, you have to not take that personally, because all the stuff they're coming from in the back end of this that's what's coming out, and they're just putting it out on you, and you have to be able to see past that, I think.
Right.
So any closing ideas for you, or any message that you wanted to get out here to other people that are maybe going through some of the similar things, either as a person in the foster system or a parent of a foster or adopting? Any other thoughts that you might want to?
I would just say that there is hope. There is
Yeah.
hope. You know, it's not hopeless. There is hope. If you're that child in the foster care system, there is hope. You're going to become something great someday, baby boy or baby girl. You can do it. And if you are that parent going through it with those children, yeah, there's hope. There's hope. It might not look like what you thought it was going to,
Yeah.
but it'll
Yeah.
be okay.
Well, and what I would add to that is what I know when my daughter was going through the worst of it back then, was looking for the small sliver of hope or light that happens to shine between the episodes, you know. Grab onto that and hold on to that little bit, even if it's just a little bit, because it'll help you to get to more of it down the road.
Right.
At least that's what I don't know if you agree with that, but that's.
Oh no, I do. I
Yeah.
do.
You have
Yeah.
to. It's because you don't get tons of hope piling in at one time. You know, you
No.
just get these little glimmers of little breaks that remind. Because my wife used to tell me when we were in the worst of some of the stuff, she would pull me back and go, okay, we still have to be compassionate, because remember who's inside that little beast that is coming at you right now is your daughter, who you love. And that helped me a lot to always have that in the back of my mind. No matter what she was approaching me with, she was still this daughter that I loved and cared for. And so
Right.
it helped me to stand back and let some of that stuff just bounce off of me that she was throwing at me. So anyway.
That's good. Yeah, that's true. It's your kid.
Well, Roxanne, I really appreciate so much you being on here, because your story, it's inspiring, for one, that you're where you are based on what you went through, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that didn't make it up to this point, and hopefully your story can inspire somebody to get to this place that you're at, you know, this much better place. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
I just want to say thank you to you for having me. I really appreciate it. It means a lot, and I'm honored, to be honest. Thank you. And thank you guys for what you do.
Well, we're trying, that's for sure. So
Yeah, thank you.
well, that's our podcast for today. We hope you have enjoyed it. We would love to hear from you. Make sure you leave us a comment. You can find out more if you like what you've heard today and you want to find out more about Roxanne and her life and her upcoming book. You got to look forward to that book. It's called Mirror. It's going to be coming out hopefully this year, right, Roxanne?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you can learn more about our parent coaching program or our next workshop by going to www.focusedhealthyfamily.com. You can follow us on Facebook at Focused Healthy Family, at Instagram at Gina@FocusedHealthyFamily, and at our website you will be able to find our blog and this podcast. So we hope that you'll check that out. And remember, how you speak to your children shapes their future.